The site is halfpasthuman.com, one of the most unique and I think important websites on the Internet. Hosted, put together, researched, and proffered by George Ure and Clif High. Clif is back with us tonight on this election eve. His regular monthly visit just happened to be tonight. Part 0 of the newest series is out. I would urge all of you to go and take a look at this and subscribe. These are red hot. They are absolutely fascinating. I'm not going to go into details right now about how it works, but suffice it to say they were, George and Clif, right on the money. In fact, you were worldwide. The Internet was right on the money in terms of October 7th, October 8th, as being the start of the, at least publicly viewable, great financial catastrophe.
The Greater Depression.
The Greater Depression. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Blueberry, raspberry, boysenberry,
it's a
apple.
Mixture. It's a strange days.
Ah.
We have to be used to, or get used to the strange fruit compote we're being presented with.
Okay, part 0 is out, and I went through that the night before last, I guess, something like that. Things are not going to smooth out, ladies and gentlemen. Not at all. In fact, as they've been seeing for quite some time. I guess the release language phase now, that some people misunderstand that concept. They think, it's over.
Yeah.
Release language is not over. Release language is dealing with it as it continues to unfold, often exponentially, in your faces. And it will continue to do so, according to the research, until maybe the middle of February next year, after the inauguration. Any changes in that, Clif?
I'm sorry?
Any changes in that projection?
No. It goes all the way through to February 19th and then sort of trails off into early March, and then we're into building tension language.
Again?
People, as you say, they misunderstand, and it's my fault in terms of naming it that, but it comes basically from a martial arts kind of a concept. You're standing there in the mat, and you're in this form they call randori, where people would rush it at you from various different sides.
Mm-hmm.
There's two key components. Your body reacts in a building tension as it senses someone charging at you, and then release as you cope with it. Doesn't necessarily mean you're coping well. It just means you're releasing the tension that was there. And so we could have good release language, but so far we haven't seen a whole lot of that.
Has the data been clear and sharp? Has the data changed its texture? Has the data changed?
It does change, yeah. Constantly, and that's an issue, too, is that, for instance, we've had as a primary aspect describing the election confusion. It's been there all this whole year. But the nature of the underlying support for that confusion has changed over time, and now we're actually seeing it firm up. And from a linguistic viewpoint, it was very exciting to watch because we were able to track it over the course of the data gathering that we've had ongoing 24/7 for a number of weeks now. I forget how many exactly, but the initial confusion about Hillary versus Obama had settled out, and then we had various confusion about around the McCain campaign several times. Now the confusion is settling out in such a way that we're going to have confusion about whether we'll be able to get all of the results and how meaningful they'll be, but at a certain point it won't matter because it'll be an overwhelming anti-Republican wave. And
so the wave is going to crest and break over this nation tomorrow. That's the way it looks.
And it looks from our data that it'll probably all be over by 8:30 pretty conclusively tomorrow. In the
that's Pacific time?
I think that would probably be Eastern.
Well, that's awfully early. California's still voting, so.
Yeah, I understand that, but the pathway for potential Republican victory is slim, and we'll have to say non-existent for all the other third parties. But interestingly, in our data, there's an indication that third parties may pull as many popular votes or close to them as the Republicans.
Collectively?
Collectively, correct. But in any event, the confusion stuff still exists, and we're going to have confusion over this whole election going on in through to February. But the nature of the confusion and who and which subsets of the populace it's settling on has shifted. So, for instance, we're going to have a whole lot of people running around basically saying to themselves, how could we have lost control? and they will exactly see, as your previous guest had noted,
Mm-hmm.
they will view Obama as an antichrist because they have the perception is inbuilt to them. We needn't go into why that's the case, but nonetheless, they'll react that way, and we're going to see parts of a diaspora. We're going to see the fleeing of the country, and these people will think that they are in the position of smart Jewish people that got out of Germany before things got really nasty. And so they'll see themselves in that role and be taking off for parts all around the planet.
A neocon flight.
I wouldn't call them neocons necessarily, because the neocons, bear in mind, are basically politically motivated power seekers and irreligious at that. I don't know of any neocons.
I call them non-religious, basically.
Correct.
As secular as it gets. Yeah.
Right. And their ideologue is my power and more power to me. But no, we're talking about the people that are truly bound up in a religious paradigm that see these as the end times and all kinds of stuff.
Where the hell are they going to go?
Costa Rica, South America. They won't fare well in many regards because they're not prepared for the existent reality there, and that it's going to get a lot worse.
Yeah.
The breaking up of an empire, whether it's the empire of Temujin, that we called Genghis Khan, or the breaking up of the Roman Empire or Alexander the Great, none of those periods of time were conducive to sitting around fishing. They weren't laid back. They were very tense. No. And it's going to be that way globally because we have the first global empire that's really breaking up. We can't really count the Soviet Union. They're massive, but their tentacles weren't as deep as the American empire.
Right. What does the language, if anything, say about the media ability of the Obama campaign to collect so many Kool-Aid drinkers? These people don't question, they don't ask, they just believe. And they want change. They don't know what kind of change, and I think a lot of them are going to be bitterly disappointed when the kind of change coming materializes in their faces. They're not going to like it. And that's even been projected by Joe Biden, Colin Powell to a degree, and so forth. So.
But the issue is, it goes from our viewpoint. We love dealing in the archetypes, and they're actually responding to as you say, it's a desperate need, and the Obama filled the need exactly or close enough, and so everybody gravitated to him. And you notice that we, to a certain extent, didn't find that need was as well suited by Hillary, and it had to do, I think, with larger archetypes at work and how we had to have a certain level of intelligence and a certain level, because we've tried stupid, that hasn't worked for 8 years. And we needed a certain level of charismatic ability, and we also needed a certain level of age. You can't have a meaningful change coming from old farts like Hillary, myself, or McCain. It just is it's kind of a stupid concept. And so in this sense, here we are at the cusp of transformation. That's what this whole next year is all about, is that the social contract is going to be transformed in ways that are going to be staggering for people.
Well, that's how it's being marketed. And yet when you look at the realities, the geopolitical realities, and especially the political realities of Obama, who has announced his advisors, and if these aren't the same old, I don't know what is.
Yeah, my point has nothing to do with the politicians. I don't even take the politicians into account. We actually did an interesting exercise, and I don't think it was meaningful, but we extracted from our data set of the populace all the language that related to McCain and just looked at it with Obama in a vacuum, and then we replaced the Obama with all the McCain language and came up with two radically different interpretations. But again, I don't think that the politicians are particularly meaningful. The subset of the crises of the death of the empire is existent no matter who is in charge at that time. It's just going to be a very interesting flavor with Obama, where it would have been predictably ugly, I think, with McCain.
Understand. So this is how much of this is a rejection of